So welcome to today's episode of Be Bell. Today, I invited in the fabulous Sonia Deasy. Now, I've known Sonia for quite some time. I've interviewed her a couple of times, but what I love so much about Be Bell podcast is that I got to know so much more about her today, things that I really didn't know, all about her family. I have to say I'm kind of in love with her dad. Yeah, I think you'll really enjoy this one. Sonia is a real chilled, laid-back lady, but God, she's got some drive. And yeah, I really, really resonated with this story. Welcome, Sonia. I'm delighted to have you. And I'm glad you found us.
Thank you, Shan. Don't say that. Don't say that. We're in Dundrum, so don't bring up my sense of direction, please.
It's your fault. You just said to me, I don't have a great sense of direction, but actually I found this is quite difficult to find the first time. But I love coming back here, actually. Love coming up to Dublin for a trip. And actually when Dundrum Shopping Centre first opened, I think I kind of lived in here with friends. You know, I'd finish work and you'd just meet here every day. And it was probably half the size that it is today. But welcome. I am delighted to have you. And as you know, Be Bell podcast is all about the woman behind the businesses that we know. So for you, I suppose, let's start right back at the beginning. Where were you born and where did it all begin?
Okay, so I was born in Portlaoise.
Lovely, just down the road.
I was born in Portlaoise in County Laois, and from there, I think when I was around 3, we moved to Newbridge, County Kildare, and I'm still there.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And what did your parents do?
My parents, so back then, both my parents are Indian, and my dad came to Ireland in 1963. And he was, at that time in Portlaoise, he was a door-to-door salesman.
My dad did something very similar. Yeah, absolutely. And so door-to-door sales back in then wasn't too far off the norm. You know, a lot of people did it. What did he used to sell and did he bring it home? Did you ever go?
So I was quite young. So He did it up to, I think, until I was 3. But, he's told me what he used to sell. So he would, back then, he would knock on the surrounding neighbourhoods' doors. And it would always be the woman of the house that would be at home. And if she was having a communion or a confirmation, she would make a list of things that she needed. So she might need a communion suit, shoes, new curtains, hair rollers.
Oh my God, basically he was a bespoke concierge.
Kind of. So
that sounds like an amazing business. I'm like, oh my God, we need to start this business. But,
so he would get as many things as he could on those lists and then deliver them. And he would allow his customers to pay. Back then, they used to say on the tick. So he used to give them credit.
Okay. And your mum, was she a stay-at-home mum?
Yeah, my mum was a stay-at-home mum. And my dad, when he first came to Ireland, he went back to India and decided he was going to get married. And they had an arranged marriage in India, and he brought my mum over then to Portlaoise.
God, what a change.
So she was like, they were the only Indian people in Portlaoise. So, I mean, the stories you would hear about my mum, she would be dressed from head to toe in an Indian sari, wearing a bindi with her hair. Her hair used to be down to her bum, tied up in a big bun, and she would literally stop the traffic.
I can imagine. My husband actually always tells the story of in Cork, they brought all the American basketball players over when he was a kid, so probably around the same time. But obviously these very tall, massive, large black guys walking around the city. He said as kids, they just used to be obsessed with these amazing sports people and made something and Cork very, very different. So did your parents find it easy to sort of make their life part of the community, being, so different at that time?
So I think my dad recognised that we were the only Asian family in the county. So he, one of his goals was to completely integrate his children into society. So, and I suppose back then as well, we couldn't build an Indian community because there were no other Indians.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have a choice, but he did make it his business really to integrate us. So, we had quite a diverse upbringing where my dad spoke English to us at home and my mum spoke Hindi to us. And we answered both of them in English.
Okay.
So it was quite, and we really ate a lot of Indian food.
Yeah.
But it was, our friends would come over and, they'd be mesmerized at what was going on in this house. So
I've spoken about this before, obviously I grew up in London, so, I had lots of Indian friends and Sikh friends and friends that were Muslim and, every religion and with different things and different nuances. As you'd enter somebody's house, they'd have different traditions. And it was just something that I just thought was completely normal, because everybody in my class was different. Whereas here, going to school, I suppose for you, obviously, I know you're integrating, but it must feel different when you go to school. So how did you deal with that? How many siblings do you have?
I have 4 brothers and 1 sister.
Yeah. I've met your lovely sister, actually. She's gorgeous. So there were 6 of you. And are you quite close?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're close enough in age. There's 10 years between the eldest and the youngest. And we all went to the same school, so the same secondary school anyway. And then primary school, back then it was not co-ed. So myself and my sister went to all girls primary school and the boys went to the boys one across the road. But we all went to the same secondary school. But I have to say, growing up, we never felt different.
No.
So, and I think it's because we were really brought up in the Irish culture and Irish society. So we all went to back then it was actually a boys' boarding school in Newbridge, and my 4 brothers boarded, but we only lived we only lived less than 2 kilometers away from the school. So that was one of the things that my dad did, so that we were fully integrated.
That's
so there was
amazing.
no difference.
And what was your dad and mum doing then for work at that time as you were growing up?
So we had a store in the town.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so it was a general drapery store in Newbridge in the town, and we sold everything from branded goods to, Playtex bras, Clark's shoes, Doc Martens, Levi's jeans, and that's what my parents did.
Everything the women had asked your dad for on the doorstep. Absolutely. God, what a clever man. So going to school all together, what were your siblings like? Because I'm one of 5 girls and there is a big gap between all of us. There's 18 years. But me and my older sister were very close, but also quite competitive. So I don't know how it works are they older brothers?
So I've 2... my sister is older than me. I'm 2 older brothers and 2 younger brothers.
Okay, so you fit in the middle.
I'm in the middle.
Nice and neat. But you're not one of 3, because I always think one of 3 is quite dangerous. The middle child, I always say there's trouble there. But one of 6, in the middle, you're pretty safe. But who became the protector? Who was the comedian? Who was, all different personalities. Where do you lie?
So I suppose I have 2 younger siblings who are my 2 brothers, and there's only 3 years between us. So we're really close. So we went to the same school and we have the same bunch of friends. So we intermingle with each other's friends and we know each other. So that's quite nice. And I'm still really, really close to both of them. And then my eldest brother, there's 7 years between myself and him, and I would be really close to him as well. But my siblings all live in Dublin and I live in Newbridge.
Okay.
So
it just makes me laugh because it sounds like they live miles away.
Yes.
And I always keep having to tell people from Dublin, Newbridge is not far away.
Yeah.
Does it feel far away?
I think when 4 of us have children, my 2 younger brothers don't have children, but I suppose, with the cousins, they're not in the same school, so it's a little bit different, and none of them are in the same schools as each other. So you do see, I see families in Newbridge, and all the cousins are in the same. Yeah. So that's a little bit different. And I suppose I grew up with my siblings being in the same school, but again, I never had any cousins. We never had cousins in Ireland.
Yes. Yeah, I love close cousins. I mean, my sisters live all over, but a few times a year, all the cousins would get together. And there's just something really lovely about that relationship, isn't it? It's like your first best friends sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm very close to my cousins too, actually, and I've never lived near them, but we'd keep good contact. So growing up, I suppose, did you want to go to college? From an education perspective, did you enjoy it? What was your thing? Where did you gravitate to?
So Indian families are really into education.
Yeah.
So Indians in general are, I know that's a gross generalization, but as the children, like we were the children of immigrant parents, so education was the number one emphasis in our house. So we were all told, so it was mandated. We had no choice, but we had to go to college.
Okay.
And not to any college. We had to go to a NUI college.
Okay.
That was it. So it was very strict in that respect. So we were brought up where once we studied and we did relatively okay, then we were allowed to do any socialization that we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think, do you know what? There's something to be said for it. I think, that your parents, and I think, knowing from how they started, I mean, your dad was obviously a very clever guy. I love the fact that he opened a store, and it sounds like it really does come from that list of where he started. But did you enjoy the education piece though? Because it's one thing it being important to the family, but was it easy for you?
So I'm not particularly academic. So, and I say that my siblings are very academic, but naturally academic, and I'm not.
Yes.
But that's in comparison to them. So in comparison to other people, I might be considered academic. So, but it came naturally to them.
Yeah.
So I had to work very hard to get into college. So I had to study. They didn't have to study.
Oh God, I hate them. I hate them. It doesn't come easy to me either. So what did you choose to do at college?
So I did arts in UCD. So very broad education. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I really didn't know, but I knew that I had to go to college. So to appease my father, I was going to college.
And how do you feel now? Because what you just said, you didn't know what you wanted to do. And I think who does know what they want to do really at that age? The majority of people don't. So how do you, with your kids now, what are your thoughts like? What direction do you coach them in, I suppose? I
suppose I was brought up with, we had no choice. We had to study. And my dad was very, very, very strict, extremely strict about that. So I'm not too strict on my own children. So in the academia respect. So, but I will say to them, my expectation is that you do work hard and you do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And I would prefer if you do go to college.
Yes.
But the choice is yours. At the end of the day, that choice is yours. I can't make you do something that you don't want to do.
And I think as a parent, I always say, if you say to them, you don't have to go to college if you want, and then they just, in 10 years down the road, they say, why didn't you make me go to college? And then if you make them go to college 10 years down, see, you made me go to college. You're fighting a losing battle, I think. But so arts, perfect. You enjoyed it?
I loved it.
Did it give you more of an idea when you left then what direction you wanted to take?
So after I left, I joined my siblings' business.
Okay. Yes. And what was that?
So we were importers of clothing and fashion. So we were wholesalers. Yeah. And I joined their business for 3 years.
Amazing.
So I graduated when I was 19. So back then I wasn't 19. So I was 20.
Yeah.
So we were very young. Back then, I was in UCD when I was 17, finished college when I was 20. Joined my siblings' business for 3 years, lived in Dublin, ran that. And then my dad, he still had his store, and he decided that he wanted a career break. Well, I don't know if it was a career break, but he wanted to, he wanted a break from the store and maybe explore other avenues because when you're running a retail store, it's full on. It's 7 days a week, 9 to 5, every single day. Like I never remember my father ever, ever, ever being sick or not showing up to the store. So I think he deserved that. So he asked me, would I run the store in Newbridge?
Okay.
So I, in effect, took the keys. And he left the store for, I think it was around 2 years, and he didn't come back. As in, he didn't come into the store again.
Yeah.
So he made the decision that she's running it.
Yeah, and I just think I could like your dad more. I like him even more now. So he just gave it the keys and said...
He gave me the keys.
And what did he create in that time?
So he was exploring another business that he ended up not doing it then.
Okay.
Yeah.
But isn't that nice that he trusted you to be able to do that?
Yeah. No, it was. I mean, look, I grew up in the family business.
Yes.
And I think through osmosis, I really learned how to run it. And I was always interested in it. So I must have been the best person for the job.
Yeah. We just don't tell the siblings. Yeah, don't tell the siblings. But obviously at that age then, you're still in your early 20s. What did you do outside of work? Like, where was your social life? What did you enjoy doing for you?
So going out with my friends. So I'm really, when I was younger, I still am, I'm very social. So I've got a big group of friends. We went out a lot. We partied a lot. Really had a really good time, I would say. Yes. Yeah.
No, and I think there's no short of places in Newbridge and Dublin, obviously, to have that. But like going out, having the crack, that's kind of all I did in my early 20s, apart from I had a huge passion for dancing. So that used to be my thing. So was there a hobby for you? Was there something that,
I think it was all work. Yeah. And then play.
Then, work hard, play harder.
Back then, we didn't, we didn't have like Pilates classes.
Yes.
Or we just didn't have those things.
No.
And it's different now.
Oh, it's so different, I think. And I think as well, we know a lot more, don't we?
Yes.
So that makes a big difference. And at what point did you meet the man that then became your husband?
So my husband, Warwick, is my brother's best friend.
Okay, yes. I didn't know that.
Yes, so I grew up with him. So he was regularly in our family home growing up.
Yeah.
So our family home was kind of like a party house.
Yes.
So there was always food. My mum was always cooking. She would feed everybody, anyone that came. We always had what they call now prinks in the house. So and it was really the party house, and we were allowed to bring anybody back any time, and there was no problem. And everybody was always welcome. And my parents really enjoyed that, having an open house and meeting, their children's friends. And so it was a great, great, great house. So my brother, Keith, he's like less than 12 months younger than me. And he still is his best friend.
Wow, that's so nice.
So
how did you go from like the guy that came to the house, brother's mate to actually I like this guy?
So I think it happened. My brother Keith was living. He lives in Dublin, and he was in Dublin, and he's a really good cook, and he would invite us over for dinner all the time. And I ended up being in my brother's house for dinner one evening, and Porrick arrived in, and both of us just happened to be single at that time. So we were always dating people. We were, we just started talking. We were 26, and we just had like, I suppose Porrick's probably deeper than me. I'm not that much of a deep person. So we were talking about, would you like to get married one day, have children?
Yeah.
And I mean, it just happened through conversation. We kind of thought, oh, maybe we had the same values. We wanted the same things out of life. Maybe it was, he knew my parents, I knew his parents. And it just happened. We literally got engaged 3 months later, and we got married within 11 months, and I got pregnant on our honeymoon.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. But that's and it is, sometimes it's just under your nose, isn't it?
Yes.
But I always love to know that bit where it just changes.
Yeah. I remember my father saying to me, better the devil you know. He always said that. And I always thought about that phrase, thinking, what does he mean? Yeah. Or he'd make comments like, when you get married and you're older, and if you grow up beside each other, you'll never run out of conversation. You can always talk about something. You've so much commonality.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so you got pregnant on your honeymoon, and
that was my sister's fault. She told me that. She actually said to me, you're not, I think she got pregnant 2 years after she got married.
Okay.
And she actually said to me, you're not going to get pregnant straight away. So, just
enjoy.
Just keep, trying or not trying, but you're definitely not going to get pregnant. So,
and lo and behold. Lo and behold. Oh, bless. That's so cool. And your first child is?
Sophia.
Yes. And you have quite a few children now.
I do. I do. Yes, I do. So I have 5 children.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah,
But my husband, he has 1 sister.
Yeah.
And he always wanted to have a big family. So I think he says to me, it comes from spending time in our house growing up. There was 6 of us and it was such a lively house. There was always people there. There was always something going on.
Yeah.
And he loved that buzz. So, when we got married, he said to me, I want to have 5 children. And I used to say to him, well, let's just have 1 first and see what happens. So,
yeah. But he got his 5.
He got his 5, yeah.
And it's funny because actually when I got married, I remember my husband's friends saying to him, okay, now we get it. You don't just get Sian, you get all of these amazing people. Because I've a big family, And they're like, oh my God, like you've married into this great situation. So I say it's like the same because, and our house was the same. Everybody, it was a pub, so everybody did come to our house first. But no, that's lovely. And so like, obviously, at some point, well, you and your husband worked together first, don't you?
We did. So when we got married, I went back to my siblings' business. My dad came back to his store, and I went back and worked with my siblings. And then I was traveling a lot, so I was the buyer. So I used to be flying literally 3 times a week. And I remember I was pregnant on my second child, Matthew, and my husband, I was in the airport and he rang me, and I was always very small when I was pregnant. So I'm slight, and I would be like 8 months pregnant and you might not know.
Oh my gosh.
So I used to fly right up till the very end. And I think I was like 2 weeks away from giving birth, and I was getting on a plane and I was late and I was running. And he was like, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm late, I'm running. He goes, oh my God, like you're 8 months pregnant, you shouldn't even be flying. But back then, we just did everything. Yeah. So after that flight, he asked me, he said, would you consider leaving your siblings' business and working with me? And I was like, if you really want me to, yeah, I would consider it. And we kind of sat down, we did the figures and the math, and we said, okay, this will work. And at that time, he did work with his parents. So they ran a portrait photography studio in Newbridge across the road from my parents' business.
Okay.
So
you like to keep everything tight, Sonia.
So we sat down, did the math and said, okay, this is a goer, and we might have a better lifestyle if we do this. So we decided then that we would buy his parents out of the business, and his parents were quite young at the time, and I think his dad was only 52, and they retired. And his mum, they retired, and they moved to Cork. That's where they were originally from. And I joined my husband, Porrick, in that business.
And did you have any concerns? Because obviously I still work with my business, with my husband part-time in a business, but for a long time we worked together all the time. And people, I'm sure you got it at the time, people would always say, how do you do that? How do you work and live together and look after the kids? I've always found it quite easy.
So I have as well.
Yeah.
We get on really well. He's good at the things that I'm not good at. So you could never, like, we work together today, and you could never ask him to do a podcast, or my strengths are his weaknesses and vice versa. And I think that works well. So we're not good at the same things.
Yeah. And so I often get business partnerships, to put a letter in a box or put it in their safe of what they bring to the business, so that if ever, because I think over time you can teach each other an awful lot, and then you kind of forget who had the strengths at the beginning. My husband's very similar to your husband, actually. And yeah, it died to do a podcast. I actually tried to make him do one day and he just went mute. It was brilliant. He just looks like a feared little mouse in the corner. But we did that when we got married. We wrote down what we bring. Now, we haven't opened those letters. The idea is that you open the letters if you're having a bad day at work, and you just go, do you know what? I forgot you're actually really good at what you do. And you've taught me a lot of this over the years. And I think that's something that people forget sometimes, is like, you really know your strengths and your weaknesses. But a lot of people don't know that. Joe Brown Ireland offers luxury natural products for both you and your home. They were founded in 2016 with the ethos of developing real premium products in a natural, sustainable way. Their packaging is all bamboo, which is grown naturally. They are very passionate about all the ingredients that they use, to the point of where even they use the plant itself, with the bamboo powder that sit in their body scrub. This actually, on a personal level, is one of my favourites, and also their cleansing balm. They are award-winning, having won 7 Global Beauty Awards. We are super proud to be working with Joe Brown, and thank you for supporting Be-Bell Podcast.
Yeah, I think that's true. But also, I'm the type of person that I don't do things that I don't like doing.
Yeah.
So I can delegate those things. So if I don't really like doing something, I won't do it.
Yeah. But it's, I'm a bit like that. If it doesn't bring you joy.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Pass it on.
Yes.
And so you have the studio.
We have the studio. So back then when we took over the studio, they were still shooting weddings. There was, a few wedding photographers on staff. And my husband's vision for that business was, he's a portrait photographer. And that was his passion, really. And our goal with that business was to wind down every other end of the business and just concentrate on portrait photography. So that's what we did. So we wound down, any commercial photography, any wedding photography, everything. And then we brought it down to a really, really niche business.
Yeah.
So the business of portrait photography, really high-end portrait photography, where families are coming in, they're having a consultation, they're being advised on what clothing to wear. They're also being told that all of our photography is black and white. You have to wear monochromatic clothing, either black or white. So we were very, very, I suppose it was like a style.
Yeah,
so we had our style.
You had a real brand.
We had a real brand and a real style to our photography, and our portraits were always recognisable on somebody's wall. They could say, that's definitely a Deasy portrait. So we used to print and frame and finish all of the portraits in-house, in studio, on Hannah Mule. Might mean nothing to anyone now, but Hannah Mule museum grade paper. So the portraits last for a lifetime, over 100 years, for generations. So, yeah.
Okay. Not just like pop down and get your portrait done.
No.
Quick headshot, out you go. And so how did that move on for you?
So we really, the goal with that business was that we could get it down to, we're only shooting X amount of hours and we're viewing X amount of hours. So we could, we were looking at the high average sale, and so that it fit in with our lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we wanted. So we wanted to be able to make our work fit in with our lifestyle, because we had at that time, we had 2 children. I was expecting my 3rd child. And we really wanted to have like a lifestyle business. Yeah.
And people forget this all the time, I think. Like, it's so important. Actually, I was chatting to somebody the other night, and she said, her task this year was to make her business work for her lifestyle, because she hadn't been doing that. But you really understood that, I think, a lot earlier than a lot of people talk about it now, but I think you got it much earlier than most.
Well, we had a really, really great business.
Yeah.
And then the recession hit in 2008. So we were, we weren't a necessary business, we were a luxury. And not only were we a luxury, but our clientele were young families.
Yeah.
And those young families got hit the worst. So that really, literally overnight, we lost, I think, nearly 60 to 70% of our business. So, at that time, I was expecting my fifth child. So I just had my fourth child. I was expecting my fifth child because our children are very close in age.
Yeah.
So
we've gathered.
Yes.
Doesn't matter about this one.
So we had 5 kids under the age of 5.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we were really, we had to think about some supplemental income.
Yes.
But so what we did first was we had such a good reputation with not only the way we ran our business and our business model, but also Porrick, my husband, did as well. He had won, I think it was that year, he had won European Portrait Photographer of the Year. So really, what did that mean? It meant that he was the best portrait photographer in Europe. So when he won that, then we got asked to speak and educate professional photographers all around the world. And in my naivety, I never forget the first email we ever got asking us to speak at a speaking engagement. And I was expecting my fifth child, and I was upstairs in the office in our studio. Email came in, and it was from Brazil, Fox magazine in São Paulo, and the biggest photography magazine in Brazil in São Paulo asked Porrick to speak at their national conference where there would be over 10,000 attendees. Wow. And they wanted him to speak to, I think there was 2,000 people in the room. So just think about it. I got the email, I'm sitting there, I'm heavily pregnant. I was 5 months pregnant. And Porrick walks into the office and I said, I just got an email, you've been asked to speak in São Paulo at a photography conference. And he just looked at me and said, I'm not doing it.
I was going to say, did you say, and I've booked your flight?
I said, no, you are. I just replied saying, yeah, when is it? He's coming, yeah. And he said, I can't get up and speak in front of 2,000 people. And I said, well, whether you can or you can't, you have to do it. Yes. Because not only, was it was an avenue into another revenue stream for us, but it was also, they were paying him a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
So they were paying, I was calculating going, great, that sees me through for 3 months, 3 to 4 months anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going.
You're going. Yeah, you're going. So I replied saying, yeah, great, he'll be there. What? And then they replied saying, no, well, we want both of you. So I said, I replied saying, but I'm not a photographer.
Yeah, but you're such an integral part of the business.
Do you want me to speak about? And they said, well, we're interested in your studio model and really the business of photography and how you streamlined your business. And that's what we were really known for. So of course I said, yes, no problem. We'll be there. So we went, and that was just that was like a lifeline for us. So we ended up traveling around educating professional photographers for the next 5 or 6 years.
That's crazy, isn't it? But that's the opportunity knocks, isn't it? It's and aren't you lucky that you are a team?
Yes.
Otherwise it could have been a no.
It could have been.
And I'd been saying the same. I would have just finished it with, and I booked your flight.
Yes.
But that's amazing. So then you became educated in that field.
Yeah, we became educators. We got to know the speaking circle really, really well. And we created a photography accessories brand. So that was our first online business. And it was called Seamless Photo. And we sold branded light boxes and lights and all the photography gear. After we spoke at the seminars, then we would sell the gear or push them to our website. And that was our kind of first, we dipped our toes into an online business. That was our first one. So that was great. But what we didn't know was with the, digital photography was, it was everywhere.
Yes.
And the photographer it was no longer a craft. It was no longer what my husband grew up with, his dad was a photographer.
Yeah.
He grew up in the darkroom with him. So it was no longer a craft or really a profession where you could really make good money.
Yes.
So that resulted in photographers not having income to purchase a lot of gear.
Yeah. Makes complete sense.
Anyway, that taught us a lot of things, because in that business, we launched it with over 350 unique SKUs.
Wow.
Yeah. So what we learned from that business. So what we learned from that business was that it's very hard to market 350 individual products. So we took that learning and we remembered that.
Yeah.
We remembered that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we were traveling literally all around America. We were speaking at conferences, doing seminars. We were also, because my husband had such a good reputation as a portrait photographer and his work is good, really good. What started happening was other photographers started asking him and to set up studio while we were traveling to take their family portraits. And we did that. So what we would do was we would I'd get the bookings, book in the shoots after we spoke, or the next day we'd hire a studio, do the shoots, come home, edit the images and send them the contact sheets.
Who's looking after the children?
So this is where I'm blessed. So I've had the same lady minding the children for 19 years. My eldest is 19.
Oh my God.
Yes.
You are so blessed. That's amazing.
And she's still with us. So I suppose that I'm lucky. We had continuity for the children and they didn't suffer as a result of that. So nothing, they were so used to me working all the time and, traveling. But they were happy because there was never really any upset for them, because they were always minded in their own home and by the same person.
And you only know what you know.
Exactly. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. So,
but that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So as things change and the landscape, and it's still changing, I suppose, and everything that you learnt, did that bring you then to come to where you're at today, I suppose?
It did. So it was while we were traveling
everywhere
at these seminars. So you have to remember, Shanna, our business in Newbridge was we photographed everyday families, everyday mums that were tired and sleep deprived, and it wasn't glamorous as such. But when we at these photography conferences, I got to see the glamorous side.
Okay.
So sometimes we would be dual, speaking. So I would speak with Porrick and we'd speak about the business of photography, and then he would speak just about lighting. He'd have a lighting workshop, and during his lighting workshops, of course, I would go around and look at everything and everyone. So I always ended up, looking at the model shoots. So of course, that's what I like to see, the glamorous end, and the makeup artists and the makeup being done. And so it was while I was being nosy that I think we were at a conference in America, and the models had to have their skin prep done before makeup. And that's where I got my idea. I saw the skin being prepped, and I always thought models had amazing skin. And if you were a model, you had to have amazing skin, but that wasn't true.
No.
So then I saw firsthand how products worked on skin, what effect it had from looking behind the camera lens. And my initial thought was, oh my God, what if I could bring this home to my clients in Newbridge?
Yes.
The women, the mothers would be so happy, because their skin would be glowing, and they always look, their skin is dull and dehydrated because they're sleep deprived. And that was really, and as well, I was also sleep deprived with, traveling around the world with the kids. So I thought, I'd love that as well. So, and that was my initial thought. That was really...
But to bring something back and, because you are, you always say, quite a laid back person, but you have some amazing drive in you. Like when you have an idea in your head, I know that it's just going to succeed because you have that drive in you. It's just inbred. I presume it comes from your dad, probably your mum a bit as well. She's the entertainer, and creating those atmospheres for people. So you decide then to launch a product.
Yeah. So we decided to launch one product, our very first product, our pure hyaluronic acid serum, which is a lightweight, not sticky or tacky hyaluronic acid serum that soaks into the skin, and it gives an instant effect. And you can really, it's like an instant gratification product. So once you use it, once you can see and feel the difference. And we learned that from our seamless photo business that, maybe we thought, myself and my husband thought maybe we have a chance if we just start with one product.
Yeah.
So,
and well, we've talked about this before. I mean, like the effect of that project was mad. For those that are a bit younger wouldn't know expose, but most of us do. The expose effect, we all said.
Yes.
I remember you being on expose. I remember actually stocking it in my studio, and I remember people ringing me from all around the country because they couldn't find it, and they were being told that I might have some, and I had like 24 and they were gone in like 2 days. But like that must be super rewarding.
Well, I tell you, we had some experience of online business from Seamless Photo. So we knew that when it featured on expose, because we had no yardstick to measure anything. So we really didn't know what we were doing. But the one yardstick we had was our previous online business. So we knew how difficult it was to sell something online. And then when we got featured on expose, it just blew up. Yeah. So then we knew. We just went, right, okay, we have something here.
And how did you pick your next product? Like, did you already have it? It was like, we're going to launch with this, and then if this works, then we're going to go this, this, and this? Or did you just go, let's just launch with this, and then sit with it, and then you start to make decisions?
So I had my first 3 or 4 products in my mind. Yes.
Yeah.
So our second product was a moisturizer. And, that's probably a weird second product, but for me, a moisturizer is really important because I'm so fussy about how things feel on my skin.
Yeah,
so the texture is really important. Yeah. So that was our second product.
Yeah. And now, like, if you look at where it's come, like, and you've got the beautiful place in Kildare where you're based, with the fabulous showroom downstairs, your gorgeous shop in Kildare Village that I love to visit. You're stocked all around the world. Like, what do you want next for it? Like, where do you go? It's just so huge, like, and it's actually not in a long period of time.
So we're 10 years in business.
Yeah.
I think, for me, it's constant improvement, and constant innovation. I'm not done. So, yeah.
I love that you're not done because, like, even in the last year, you've brought out 2 amazing products. I talked to my 2 favorite. My favorite products changed actually. So the vitamin C serum, I'm kind of obsessed. It just makes me look like a different person in the morning. Now I still have my routine and everything, but I just love that product. I've always loved the retinol. Just think it's amazing, and the new Superstar is just phenomenal. But obviously this week you launched your, you tell, because it's 10 years in the making. 10 years in the making.
This week we launched our first SPF product. So it's SPF 50.
I have to say, sorry, but I just have to say, because it's different to anything I've ever used. Like, it's so creamy. It didn't stick to my skin. It gave me a glow. Like, it just ticks so many boxes. I loved it, I have to say. Now I'm only 2 days in, so I can't tell you how amazing it is yet. But I have to say, like, even just from the feel and how it looked and how it went on my skin, very different.
Yes, so it's a primer, illuminator, and an SPF all in one. So again, texture, we're known for texture. So efficacy goes without saying. The products are created and formulated with the very best ingredients that are effective. But texture it's so important to me. So how it feels on, I always say how it makes you look and feel. So if something doesn't feel right on your skin, you're not going to feel good inside.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And so from a business perspective now, obviously you work with your husband, and your children are grown up. Do they all work? The older ones, have they got little jobs now?
So that's a funny question. So the eldest is in first year in college.
Yes.
And she has a weekend job in the village. But so this was she wanted us to give her her first job. And I said no.
Yeah.
Because I just felt that she's not going to learn anything from us.
Yes.
She knows everything, by like I did from my parents, by osmosis. And also I think it's really important that they learn that, you if you have to show up for work, you have to be there. You can't run to mum and dad and say, I don't want to go, or such and such said something to me, or and also it's so good for her. She's learning, how she's in a clothing shop out in the village at the weekend,
lovely.
so she's learning. She learned about rosters, assistant manager, her manager, what you can and can't say to people, how you behave. And I feel that would have been a completely different experience. No matter what anyone says, she is the boss's daughter. So she would be treated differently, I think.
Yeah. No, I
feel so.
You're completely right.
Yes. So, and I didn't want that to happen for her first job.
Yeah.
So she's been there for just a year now. But she did ask me.
No, I mean, I would want to work for you. Do you know what I mean? It's
for a job in the store. So, I explained to her, well, you need to apply for the job like anybody else. I'm not giving it to you. So go through the interview process.
It's funny, actually, just before we met today, I was scrolling on Instagram and there's a lovely lady that goes into schools and she'd put a post up saying, advice of how to get your first weekend job. And it said, do a bit of investigation, find out the manager's name, blah, blah. And I was like, I really wanted to write, get them to apply for it.
Yeah,
because
they have to.
Yeah, because the amount of people I get ring me saying, Sean, my daughter's 17, she's thinking about doing this. Can you give it? I'm not, as soon as the parent asks, I just don't give them.
Same.
I can't.
Yeah.
Because that means the parent's going to ring me and tell me that they're sick, and and I'm like, no, that's not teaching them anything. I think you've done exactly the right thing. And does she feel that now? Does she love the independence of being in that shop and coming home and telling you about different stuff?
Yeah, no, she does. She does. Yeah. But so it's always, when you're a parent, it's kind of difficult because of course I know what she's going to experience in another store, and I know the experience she's going to have in our store and how she will be treated differently. But they just don't know anything. Yeah. They really don't. And they really don't. They think they know everything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, and I think they're all the same. They think they know much more than me. So, and you cannot explain it to them. They have to experience it for themselves. And then they'll go, oh, right, she was actually right.
What do you wish you knew when you were 19 that you know now?
I probably should have worked somewhere else.
Okay.
So I never worked anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I never had, the closest I got to having another job was on a J1 in San Francisco waitressing for 6 weeks.
Yes.
I never had a proper job anywhere else.
That is.
Now, I mean, when I say that to people, they say, but I don't think that really, but I do. I feel that I probably should have done that.
And my only regret, I didn't travel when all my friends travelled. I didn't do that J1 or the go to Australia because I was too busy working. So that's why now I travel as much as I possibly can. I think, it's really interesting. And your mum and dad, are they both healthy with us?
My mum passed away 2 years ago and my dad is, he's 83.
And what does your dad must be super proud.
Oh. He is. My siblings have a business as well. So my brothers also have a business. No, he is. He's super proud. I mean,
Yeah.
Of course he is.
What a lucky man. What a lucky man. Listen, we are going to pick a little question.
Oh, God.
From you. So actually, on some of the episodes, I've forgotten to do this, but we've always done this on B-Bell, got people to just leave a question in the pot and you'll have to read it out because I don't know what they say. Oh, God, what does it say? Let me check the writing. Who wrote that one? Oh, what? This is unusual. What smell reminds you of a fond memory?
So I think for me, So Indian cooking is so pungent.
Yeah.
All right. So no matter what you do. So when I cook every night, I love cooking.
Yes.
Right. And I mostly, probably out of 7 days a week, I probably cook Indian 4 days a week. And I love cooking. And when I come home from work, the first thing I do is change my clothes. I would be in like a smelly tracksuit.
Yeah.
Because the smells stick to everything. And like myself and my sister always talk about this, you have to have your cooking clothes.
Yeah.
So if anyone walked into our house and saw us, they would think, who is this like person? Because the clothes, our clothes get...
I actually do the same.
Our clothes get ruined from cooking. Yeah. So you might get a turmeric stain.
I was going to say turmeric.
Or, they just get ruined. So we have our cooking clothes. But the smell, I think, for me would be that Indian cooking smell. So my dad's house smells the same as my house.
Okay. Love that.
And my children are always slagging me. So they would say things like, Mum, are you cooking now? Well, we don't cook yet. Yeah. Like, let me leave first before.
And if your kids were going away like for a month and they were coming back and you're going to cook them one thing, what would that meal be? So
actually that happened to my middle girl. She's in TY. She went to France for 2 months and she came back. And the week she came back, she said, Mum, this is my menu request, my dinner request. Yeah. So her dinner request was lamb curry. Nice. So chutney, which is a mint sauce that we make with fresh mint and coriander, chili and onion. Yogurt, so riata, which is yogurt with grated cucumber. And then yellow dal, so yellow lentils, chana dal.
Okay.
And that was her menu, and rice. Yeah, that was
so
her.
That's her. That's what means
that was
home.
Her.
Amazing. Oh, I think that's gorgeous. Food is for me everything. Like when we go away, the first thing we do is book a food tour because you learn so much about heritage, the history of the place, everything. Because and food brings everybody around a table. Yeah, food's just amazing. We'll have to start food podcasts.
Yes.
Completely different.
That's what myself and my sister always say.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'll come on. I can talk about food all day, but that's amazing. So, like, looking back, I suppose, I love the story of your life, I suppose, and the people that have made you who you are today. What do you wish for your girls now? What do you wish for all the daughters? And
I think just to be happy and do what makes you happy, because if you're not doing something that makes you happy, it's not worth it. Life is too short. So do things that only make you happy.
Amazing. Listen, Sonia, thank you so much for joining me today. I absolutely love that.
Thank you, Shan.
Thank you. Take care. So thank you for listening to this week's Be-Bell podcast. Don't forget, you can find us on social media. If you've got any questions, then please don't hesitate to DM us at @bbell_wellness. You can also find this on our YouTube channel, which is my YouTube channel, Shan Horn. And don't forget, the more people that subscribe, the better that we can make this pod. So don't forget, like and subscribe across all channels. And thank you.